Today, we're diving into a VST plugin that isn't just a finished product. It's more like a blank canvas. It's not just an instrument you play, it's an entire sound laboratory where you write the rules. We're talking about Crescendo. I want you to think about this for a second. Most of the plugins we use are kind of like a black box, right? You turn a knob, a slider moves, you get a predictable result, and that's great. But what if you wanted to get inside that box and completely rewire it? What if you wanted to set the rules yourself? Well, that's exactly where Crescendo steps in. It's a totally free, programmable VST for Windows. And we're not just talking about tweaking a few presets here. We're talking about using a custom scripting language to build your own instruments, your own audio effects, and even your own MIDI processors, completely from the ground up.
Let's break down the difference. A traditional VST? That's like a finished instrument you buy from a store. Crescendo? Well, Crescendo is the entire workshop. It hands you all the raw materials, all the tools, and says, go invent something new. With this, you're not just the musician anymore, you become the instrument builder.
So, here's our game plan for digging into this amazing tool. First, we'll cover the core concept. Then we'll walk through its three main processing stages. That's MIDI, the layers, and the post-processor. And we'll wrap up with some of its absolute game-changing special features. Sound good? Let's get into it.
So, at its very core, you can think of Crescendo as a blueprint for sound. Instead of handing you a bunch of fixed parts, it gives you this super flexible, layered architecture. You start with what's called the common section in the code. That's your global blueprint, where you define all the big picture rules for how your entire creation is going to behave. Now, to really understand how Crescendo works, you've got to follow the life of a signal as it moves through the plugin. It's a journey, really, and it happens in three very distinct stages, from the instant you press a key on your keyboard to the final sound that hits your ears. And this journey has three key stops. First up is MIDI processing. That's the brains, figuring out what you're playing. Second is layer processing, which is the heart of it all, where the actual sound is made. And finally, there's post-processing, which adds that final polish. Let's take a closer look at each one, starting with the brains, MIDI.
All right, stage one, MIDI. This is the command center, the brain of your instrument. Before a single sound is even generated, this stage is busy processing all the incoming data, letting you define exactly how your creation is going to respond to your playing.
And the amount of control you have here is just huge. You can tell it to only listen to certain MIDI channels. You can link the physical knobs on your controller to literally any parameter you can dream of, set up complex key switches for changing articulations on the fly. You can even code your own arpeggiators. It's the central nervous system for your entire instrument. Now, it's really important to know that Crescendo doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's designed to be a partner with your DAW. Your DAW handles all the basics, like audio I/O and the project tempo. Crescendo then hooks into all that through what it calls host engagement rules, which is just a fancy way of saying it lets you sync your creation perfectly with your project.
Okay, on to stage two, and this is where the magic really starts to happen, the layers. The best way to think of a layer is as a completely self-contained sound generator. You can stack as many as you want to create these incredibly rich, complex instruments, and each layer can be triggered in its own unique way.
And inside each layer, you have this incredible toolkit to work with. You've got your classic synthesizer oscillators, or you can load up your own audio files using the sample command. Then you can sculpt them with envelopes and filters, and you get to decide exactly what triggers them, a specific key, a certain velocity, you name it. And then you can route that audio wherever you want.
And that routing capability leads to a seriously powerful feature, multiple outputs. This means you can have a single instance of your plugin, but send your kick drum out to one track in your DAW, your bass to another, and a synth lead to a third. This lets you do professional, independent mixing and processing, all from one custom instrument. So, once all your individual layers have done their thing and generated sound, they all meet up at the third and final stage, the post-processor. You can think of this as your master effects channel, where you apply global effects to kind of glue the whole sound together. In this final stage, you get access to a few different audio streams. You've got the main out variable, which is just the combined sound of all your layers. You also get dedicated sends, so you can set up things like reverb buses. And you can even process external audio from your DAW, perfect for things like sidechain compression or other cool effects. As if all that wasn't enough, Crescendo also has a few special features built in that are basically like sound design superpowers. They make it both ridiculously powerful and surprisingly easy to get going with.
First off, getting started is dead simple. You just copy the right DLL file into your VST folder, fire up your DAW, And that's it. Crescendo will be there, and it even creates its own main folder for you automatically. No complicated installers, no fuss.
And get this, you are not stuck with some boring generic interface. You can completely personalize the look and feel of your creations. With just a few simple commands, you can set the window size, change all the colors, use custom fonts, and even hide UI elements you don't need, building a workflow that is perfectly tailored to you.
Okay, now this next one is huge. Building a sample library from scratch can take forever, but Crescendo has a feature that gives you a massive head start: instant sound font support.
And the process is just brilliant. You literally just drag a sound font file right onto the plugin's interface. And then Crescendo just does everything. It extracts all the wave samples, and this is the crazy part, it automatically writes a ready-to-play instrument file for every single preset in that sound font. An entire library becomes a collection of editable Crescendo instruments in seconds.
But the sampling power doesn't even stop there. If you happen to have the free FFmpeg library on your computer, Crescendo can use it to load audio from almost any audio or video file you can throw at it. Your potential sample library just became, well, basically infinite.
So, to bring it all home, Crescendo is a totally different breed of plugin. It's not a black box with a couple of knobs. It is a completely transparent, programmable sound laboratory that gives you the fundamental building blocks to construct your own unique instruments from scratch.
So, we've had a tour of the lab, we've seen all the tools on the workbench. The only question left is, what sounds will you create?